there, and welcome to the March 2025 edition of Archaeology News, where we go on a journey through time exploring the latest exciting discoveries from around the world. Yes, that is correct. Archaeologists are making groundbreaking discoveries all the time. However, since your newsfeed might have decided not to show them to you, I have used my years of experience as an archaeologist to carefully research and put together this video to provide you with well-sourced and interesting, accurate news about real archaeology. No pseudoscience, clickbait, or AI here. How were people transporting their things 22,000 years ago? What is the DNA and ancestral origin of Attila and his Huns? What is inside a cache of 26 dynasty treasures found at Karnak Temple in Egypt? Have we actually found mysterious structures up to 2 kilometers deep underneath the Pyramid of Khafra at Giza? Keep watching to find out the answers to these questions and more. Don't forget to take a few seconds to subscribe or like to tell the algorithm that you want to learn more about real archaeology. If you're feeling extra generous, a Ko-fi donation, super thanks, or Redbubble purchase helps me keep the channel going. All right, everyone, let's dig in. We have 8 stories today in our top discoveries segment, which I will cover in chronological order, starting with those going the farthest back in time. Our first feature this month brings us back over 1 million years to an ancient cave called Cima de Elefante, or Pit of the Elephant, in northern Spain. This cave is part of the wider archaeological site of Atapuerca, which consists of several limestone caves near Burgos and is known for the abundant human remains first discovered here in 1976. The Pit of the Elephant in particular has been subject to ongoing excavation since 1996. Now, fossilized remains of a left cheek and upper jawbone have been found there. They belong to an adult member of an extinct human species who lived and died on the Iberian Peninsula between 1.1 and 1.4 million years ago, making this new find the oldest known human face in Western Europe. Until now, the earliest human remnants in Western Europe were between 1.1 to 1.2 million year old pieces of jawbone and teeth that have actually been found in the same cave. Examination of the new bones to try and determine their species found that they were more primitive than Homo antecessor and resemble Homo erectus. Given this uncertainty, the team has designated the species Homo affinis erectus, reflecting its close relationship with the older human. Given that other remains of Homo antecessor have been found at the site of this discovery, this new finding not only introduces a new actor into the story of human evolution in Europe, but also suggests that at least 2 forms of early human occupied the region in the early Pleistocene era, when the cave sat within humid woodland rich in wildlife and crossed with streams and rivers. Next, we travel to Khao Sam Royat National Park in Thailand, where archaeologists have uncovered the remains of a child dating to the Paleolithic era. The child was discovered about 6.5 feet beneath the floor of a cave which has been excavated since 2020 when cave paintings were found on the cave walls. The dig started near the cave wall, as you might expect. Various artifacts were found, including axes, seashells, animal bones, and plant seeds, indicating the presence of prehistoric humans. The team then excavated 2 meters deeper, ultimately uncovering a human skeleton. The bones were in remarkably good condition, and osteological analysis indicated that the person was a child between the age of 6 and 8 years old at death. The child was buried facing up, accompanied by stones and red pigments on the body. This hints at a ritualistic burial that may have involved wrapping or tying up the remains. Additionally, they found charcoal and ash around the body, which once again indicates that the child was smoked prior to burial. The bones have been radiocarbon dated to 29,000 years before present, making these the oldest human remains ever found in the country. The ritualistic nature of the burial has also given researchers a rare sneak peek into the cultural practices of prehistoric hunter-gatherers in the region, offering a tantalizing but brief glimpse into the mysterious lives of Stone Age humans in southeastern Asia. Currently, work is underway to study the soil layers and conduct further age analysis. Ongoing research will continue to provide deeper insights into this very significant find, and there are plans to develop the area into a natural and educational tourist route in the future. Now we jump forward a few thousand years and head to White Sands National Park in New Mexico, where recent research has meticulously documented a series of parallel and single-line drag marks found alongside ancient footprints. These tracks, which vary in length from 2 to 50 meters, are preserved in dried mud and layered with sediment. They are believed to have been created by a travois, a basic transport device constructed from two wooden poles tied together. Historically, indigenous groups across North America utilized this method to transport goods, and this recent discovery indicates that this innovative technology may have existed thousands of years earlier than previously assumed. While it's long been thought that early humans likely utilized some form of transport to carry their belongings during their migrations worldwide, no evidence of such wooden vehicles has ever been found because it's degraded in the time since then. These drag marks now provide the first indication of how our ancestors managed to move heavy or bulky loads from before the invention of the wheel. The track's proximity to human footprints have been dated to 22,000 years ago, indicating that the travois was likely pulled by people rather than animals. Notably, many of the footprints surrounding the tracks appear to belong to children, leading the research team to believe that the groups of children either followed closely behind or walked alongside the adults as they pulled the loads. To test their hypothesis, the research team conducted some experimental archaeology by constructing their own travois and dragging them across mudflats in Dorset, the UK, and along the coast of Maine, USA. The results revealed that the mud marks created during these experiments closely resembled those found at White Sands. While the dating of the accompanying footprints is still debated by some experts, this discovery gives us a glimpse of the ingenuity of our ancestors when it comes to early transport technology, as well as deepening our understanding of their migration patterns, ultimately enriching the narrative of the first settlers of the Americas. Our next feature brings us into the Eridu region of southern Iraq, where geoarchaeologists have unearthed one of the oldest and most well-preserved irrigation networks. The Eridu region is an excellently preserved ancient archaeological site that was occupied from the 6th until the early 1st millennium BCE. Historically, ancient people in Iraq, aka Mesopotamia, depended on the Euphrates River and its tributaries for crop irrigation, assisted by canals diverting water to their crops. However, it's difficult in modern day to study these older irrigation networks as they have been covered by younger ones or the sedimentation of rivers. For example, most of the ancient irrigation canal networks that we can now see on the ground in Iraq belong to the later Parthian and Sasanian periods. This complicates the study of early agricultural systems. However, this area of Eridu was abandoned following a shift in the Euphrates River's course, allowing its archaeological landscape to remain relatively intact. For this work, a multidisciplinary approach was used. First, high-resolution satellite imagery and geomorphological and geological maps were consulted. This was then followed by fieldwork, including the ground checking of the remote sensing work and collection of drone images and camera photography. Through this combined approach, the researchers identified over 200 primary canals directly connected to the ancient Euphrates, which were between 1 and 9 kilometers long and between 2 and 5 meters wide. Additionally, more than 4,000 smaller branch canals connected to the main ones, and over 700 farms were identified. Both sides of the river were utilized, although the farmers exploited the northern side more heavily than the southern side. It was concluded that the reconstructed network represents the combined agricultural activities for all the periods of occupation in the region. It is unlikely that all the canals were running simultaneously over its 5,000-year occupation period. Therefore, that means that this site will have seen an evolution of the irrigation system over the millennia, and it presents a unique opportunity to study the chronology to better understand the changes in irrigation systems and agricultural landscapes over time. Further research is planned to try and date the canals more specifically, and additionally, comparing these designs of these canals with descriptions found in ancient cuneiform texts could yield valuable insights into agricultural management in Mesopotamia. Now we make what feels like a monthly stop in Egypt, where a joint French-Egyptian team has found a set of ornaments during the excavation work in the northwestern sector of the Karnak temple complex, one of Egypt's most significant religious sites. Dating to the 26th dynasty, making it around 2,600 years old, the artifacts were found inside a small ceramic container that was remarkably intact. Inside was a stunning array of jewelry pieces in excellent condition, including several gold rings, small statuettes, and gilded amulets. Notably, the collection features a rare triptych representing the Theban triad of deities, Amun, Mut, and Khonsu. Metal brooches and amulets depicting gods in animal forms were also in the cache, along with numerous decorative beads, some of which are gold-coated. These recovered objects not only enhance our knowledge about the temple and its evolution throughout the first millennium BCE, but will also provide researchers with a clearer understanding of religious life and the use of amulets and jewelry in Egyptian society during the 26th dynasty. The archaeological team has started restoration and documentation on the discovered pieces. And once this process is completed, the artifacts are expected to be exhibited in the Luxor Museum, allowing visitors to appreciate their historic and artistic value. Next up, we head to the site of Shengjindian in northwestern China. Here, archaeologists have found a burial of a woman whose teeth had been painted with cinnabar, a toxic bright red mineral that is made of mercury and sulfur. Must have tasted awful. Although cinnabar has been used since at least the 9th millennium BCE, this is the first and only known case of it being used to stain teeth in antiquity and throughout the world, probably because it tasted so bad and was also poisonous. The burial was found in a cemetery in Turpan City and probably belonged to the Gushi people who followed the Shubeshi culture, a horse-riding pastoralist culture which flourished in this area nearly 3,000 years ago. The site lies along the main route of the Silk Road and was radiocarbon dated to 2200 to 2050 years old, putting it squarely within the time frame when the Silk Road was active with the trade of precious goods, including cinnabar. The individual was found in the grave with 3 others, including a juvenile, but stood out because of the traces of red pigment on its teeth. Osteological analysis revealed that this individual was female and had died between the ages of 20 and 25. A spectroscopy analysis of the pigment revealed that it was cinnabar, which had been mixed with an animal protein, probably egg yolk or egg white, so that it could be painted onto the woman's teeth. The team have named this burial the Red Princess of the Silk Road. The Red Princess's teeth are an anomaly, as this region is not a source of cinnabar. However, it was mined and traded along this route in the Silk Road in antiquity. Although it's unknown why the teeth were painted red, it could be related to cosmetic enhancements, social status, shamanism, or a combination of all 3. Other burials with facial paintings and tattoos have been found in this region and even in the same cemetery. Surprisingly, there was no evidence of mercury poisoning in her bones, even though there's circumstantial evidence that it was applied repeatedly to her teeth during her lifetime. Although it is an isolated archaeological discovery, it provides new insights into the use of cinnabar in ancient people in this region. This discovery signifies the importance of the color red in daily and spiritual life, and also reflects the exchange and communication of resources and culture, enriching our knowledge of the Silk Road. Our penultimate discovery this month concerns the Huns, a nomadic people from Central Asia who first appeared in Europe in the 370 CE, establishing an empire that reshaped Western Eurasian history. The most famous of them is a guy by the name of Attila. You might have heard of him. Yet, until today, the origins of Attila and his Huns have remained a matter of extensive debate. Traditional theories link them to the Xiongnu, the founders of the first nomadic empire of the Mongolian steppe, and probably the first people that the Great Wall was built to keep out. However, the Xiongnu Empire dissolved 300 years before the Huns appeared in Europe, and there is little archaeological and historical evidence of the Huns in the steppe during this time gap. Now, a new study published by a team of geneticists, archaeologists, and historians may have finally shed light on this ancient origin story. The research team analyzed archaeological evidence alongside 35 newly sequenced and published genomic data for a total of 370 individuals. These people come from between the 5th to 6th century CE context within the Carpathian Basin and include 10 Hun period Eastern type burials, 2nd to 5th century sites across Central Asia, and 2nd BC to 1st CE Xiongnu period sites across the Mongolian steppe. The study found no evidence for the presence of a large eastern/steppe descent community among the Hun and post-Hun period Carpathian Basin population, as well as observing a high genetic diversity among the eastern type burials. This suggests a mixed origin of the incoming steppe conquerors. Nevertheless, long-shared genomic traits provide compelling evidence of genetic lineages directly connecting some individuals of the highest Xiongnu period elite with 5th to 6th century CE Carpathian Basin individuals, showing that some European Huns did descend from them. The fact that the population of the Hun Empire was so genetically diverse reflects a complex web of genetic interaction rather than a single mass migration. So it seems like the remnants of the Xiongnu took their time mixing with other people before this new people, the Huns, embarked westward to give the Romans a hard time. This study challenges the idea of the Huns as a uniform horde and instead reveals a dynamic interplay of cultures and genes. The Eastern type burials with their varied ancestry hint at an elite class tied to the steppe, yet the broader population reflects centuries of mixing, highlighting how the ancient world was in motion and not nearly as genetically isolated as we previously believed. Our last discovery this month brings us to the Chatham Islands 800 kilometers west of New Zealand. There, a local farmer and fisherman and his son spotted unusual bits of timber last winter after heavy rains. They took the planks home, initially thinking they might make a nice coffee table, fair enough, but then quickly realized that there was something much more precious when they noticed one of the pieces was carved. After alerting the authorities, an excavation commenced where they found the planks to look for more pieces and has now unearthed over 450 artifacts belonging to a waka, a Maori traditional carved and decorated ocean-going canoe, which had been smashed into pieces in a creek on the northern coast of the main island. This is significant, as normally only very small parts of waka are found, whereas here there are hundreds of components as well as a wide range of materials. The recovered parts include a 5-meter-long wooden plank with holes for lashings, small pieces of iridescent abalone shell and obsidian, smaller carved planks which hold exquisitely crafted discs of obsidian embedded in the timber, as well as strings of plaited rope and other woven material, probably part of a sail. As of the time of filming this video, the exact date of the waka is uncertain. However, archaeologists have permission from tribal authorities to take small samples for radiocarbon dating and analysis to identify the materials and their sources. An impromptu conservation laboratory has also been set up near the site to preserve all the parts of the waka in tanks and containers covered in water from the creek that it originally came from. A local team of conservators will look after the material over the coming weeks while the community decides the next steps, but the plan is for the material to stay on the island. This first excavation season uplifted only a small portion of the boat. Most of it remains in the creek, now reburied and covered to protect it from the elements. As the post-excavation work gets underway, it's expected that the waka will reveal new insights about Polynesian boat building, voyaging, and trade, and it is undoubtedly one of the most important Polynesian archaeological finds of all time. That's it for our top discoveries. Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. But wait! Some of you might be thinking, Rachel, you mentioned the structures found under Khafra's pyramid. Why wasn't that in your top discoveries? Did you clickbait us? Did you forget about it? Don't worry. No, I haven't. We're going to talk about this now as a part of my current news segment because, spoiler alert, this is not a legitimate discovery. In case you missed it, news exploded across the clickbait newsverse this month with headlines proclaiming that giant structures had been found deep underneath the Pyramid of Khafra at Giza, and riling up speculation that this means the pyramids aren't actually tombs, but something else. UFOs, power plants, bombs. It's unclear. Why is it unclear? Well, because this is the most dubious, mysterious press release of major archaeological news that I have ever come across. To summarize the story briefly and as coherently as I can, A trio of Italian fringe scientists are claiming to have developed new software for processing and analyzing synthetic aperture radar, also known as SAR, in order to see underground structures invisible to traditional geophysical methods like ground penetrating radar. They have apparently applied this software to SAR data from the pyramid of Khafra at Giza without even going on site. They found it as like open source data from, I think, Italian satellite programs. With their new software, they claim to have found a variety of structures underneath it, descending to a depth of over 2 kilometers below the surface. They conclude that this naturally means the pyramids are not tombs, but actually a mechanical or functional system like a power plant. There are many reasons why myself and the rest of the archaeological community, including the Egyptian Antiquities authorities, don't think this claim is credible. Firstly, the team behind this are made up of engineers, not archaeologists. And I'm saying this because if you're going to work on major archaeological sites like this, you should be collaborating or at least involving archaeologists. We're the people that spend our whole lives studying this stuff. It just doesn't make sense. As you can see in the discovery section, there's multidisciplinary projects all over the place. Like, that is really, if you're going to try and do something like this, that is the approach that you should be taking. One of the people who's published this claim is even a self-proclaimed ufologist with a previous track record of publishing books like this one, and who believes that aliens are actually interdimensional parasites that hijack human souls. Secondly, this is also not the first time that this group has made outlandish pyramid claims. In 2022, the same team put out a paper claiming to have used the same method on the Great Pyramid and found extra previously unknown chambers inside of it. Nobody has been able to verify these results a second time. This new claim about the Pyramid of Khafra hasn't even been officially published. You cannot find a transcript of everything that they've said on the internet. Apparently, it was all put forward during a press conference in Bologna, to which a group of pseudo-archaeology and paranormal social media personalities were invited, but no real journalists, which is exactly what you want to do if you want people to take you seriously. My biggest issue with this, besides the overall fantastical claims that it's making, is that these guys are essentially saying they have developed a method to x-ray through solid substances like rock, which we are not able to otherwise do. If this is true, it would be a huge, huge breakthrough in the study of geophysics and geology. And logically, the first thing that they should have done to verify that their new method works is testing it somewhere that they know what's under the surface, like mine, sewers, or those underground cities in Cappadocia and Turkey. But no, these guys just ran straight to the pyramids. And then they have the gall to suggest that in order to verify their results, we should excavate. This would seriously compromise the structural foundations of the pyramid, be a huge safety hazard, not to mention it would irrevocably damage the pyramid. Real geologists have determined that the Giza Plateau is solid limestone bedrock. Solid, keyword solid. And it was undoubtedly chosen by the Egyptians because it was solid enough to bear the weight of a few million stones that make up the pyramids. It just doesn't add up. It's also notable that this work was not authorized by the Egyptian Antiquities Ministry, and another clue that is bogus is that no major news outlets have picked this story up, just social media algorithms and trashy news rags like the Daily Mail, who are just in it for the clicks. So you can't really trust that any of this is true. I saw in a few different posts about this that there is supposed to be like a 4-hour PowerPoint presentation on this, / these guys plan on publishing it. And I look forward to them doing that so that it can be properly peer reviewed and analyzed, and the results either duplicated, which I very much doubt will happen, or shown to be incorrect. And until then, this really can't be taken seriously as a major discovery. Okay, on to better news. A portion of one of the world's finest private collections of Greco-Roman antiquities has come to North America for a 3-city tour, marking the artwork's first public display outside of Europe. Belonging to the wealthy Italian Torlonia family, the exhibition will feature 58 sculptures, 24 of which haven't been displayed for nearly a century. After being locked away for much of the 20th century, the collection toured Europe in a recent series of long-anticipated exhibitions. The first stop on the North American tour is the Art Institute of Chicago from March to June, followed by the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth from September to January 2026, and finishing at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts in Canada from March to July 2026. Check out any of these museums' websites for tickets. In our next story, if you've been here a few times, you've probably heard me mention the Vesuvius Challenge, a competition to virtually unroll carbonized papyrus scrolls from Herculaneum with cash prizes ranging from tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, this idea has caught on, and now the Tamil Nadu government in India are offering a $1 million reward for anyone who can decipher the Indus Valley script. In case you were unaware, the Indus or Harappan civilization is one of the world's earliest urban societies, which emerged 5,300 years ago in present-day northwest India and Pakistan. Its austere farmers and traders living in walled, baked brick cities thrived for centuries before suddenly declining for unknown reasons. For over a century since its discovery, experts, linguists, scientists, and archaeologists have tried to crack the Indus script, which mostly appears on stone seals used for trade and commerce. There is a relatively small number of pieces that the script appears on, about 4,000 in total, almost all of them being small objects such as seals, pottery, and tablets. And the average length of the script on each is about 5 signs or symbols. There's also no bilingual artifact like the Rosetta Stone to help us out. Hopefully this new prize can have a similar motivating effect to the Vesuvius Challenge and eventually lead us to being able to read and understand some of the first words ever written. That's the end of current news and events. We'll close our program today talking about archaeology and entertainment and pop culture. Our single story this month is that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will be officially released on the PS5 on April 17th. As some of us may know, I attempted to buy The Great Circle when it came out on PC earlier in 2025, but it's basically too high spec for my computer and I had to return it. And Sony, so far, hasn't seen fit to send me a PS5 and a copy of the game. Just letting them know I'm open to that. My friend has a PS5 that I'm hoping I can borrow to play it on. So make sure that you subscribe because I will obviously find a way to do that and live stream it, as well as doing a proper review video to come after I finish the game. All right, everyone, time to pack up our finds, hang up our shovels for today. That's everything for the March 2025 edition of Archaeology News. Did you like this video? Is there anything important that I missed? Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to the channel before you leave. If you're feeling extra generous, you can give me a super thanks, a Ko-fi donation, or have a look at my Redbubble shop and get a sticker, t-shirt, hat, or mug with your favorite archaeology slogan, all of which have been designed by me. Taking a few seconds to support me in any way that you can really does help me out and promotes real archaeological content that is well sourced, researched, and presented by someone who is an expert on this subject. Thank you so much for watching. Stay curious, and I hope to see you on my next adventure inside archaeology.